Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share some insights into what a Trump presidency could mean for our property market here in Australia. It's a question I've been getting a lot lately, so I'm going to break down a few key points to consider. And at the end, I'll share my predictions on what this could mean for property prices and the Australian economy. First, let's talk about the US-China trade war. Trump's stance on China is strong. He's proposed tariffs of up to 60% on imports from China into the US. This could impact everything from electronics to cars, and Americans may end up paying higher prices for a lot of goods. Now, if this policy leads to a slowdown in China's economy, that might affect us here in Australia. With almost 40% of our exports going to China, a weaker Chinese economy could slow our economic growth. However, if this happens, interest rates in Australia could be adjusted down to stimulate growth, potentially increasing cash flow on properties for investors here. Next, Trump's corporate tax strategy. Lowering US corporate tax to 15% could stimulate the American economy. More capital means more spending, which could create a ripple effect that impacts global markets. For Australia, a lower Australian dollar could support export growth, which in turn could benefit sectors like mining and agriculture. Moving on to our relationship with the US. Historically, Australia and the US have maintained a strong alliance. If Trump's trade policies extend further, Australia's position as an ally could work to our advantage. We might avoid some of the harsher impacts faced by other nations, maintaining steady trade and economic relations. Let's talk about the Australian dollar. A weaker dollar does reduce purchasing power, especially on imports, but on the flip side, it increases demand for our exports by making them cheaper for other countries. Higher export demand could bolster sectors like resources, which in turn could benefit the broader economy. What about immigration? Australia sets its immigration caps based on national needs, so I don't see US policy having much influence here. Immigration demand in Australia remains strong, and that's important for supporting housing demand and, by extension, property values. Finally, there's the potential for a shift in our political landscape. With conservative trends in the US, we may see similar movements here in Australia. Policy frameworks could shift, impacting affordability and property investment incentives. Whether this leads to stricter regulations or new opportunities, it's something to keep an eye on. So here's my takeaway. Despite the global shifts we're seeing, property in Australia has historically delivered around 7% capital growth annually, even through global crises. Property investment remains a strong, stable option, and as always, it's about staying informed and making calculated decisions. In summary, here are the points to watch out for. Potential impacts of the US-China trade war. Effects of a lower Australian dollar on export demand. Any policy shifts that might arise from global trends. If you're considering your next investment move or you're wondering how global changes might affect your property strategy, get in touch. I'm here to help you navigate these shifts and make the most informed decisions possible. Thanks for listening, and let's talk soon.